My own mother told me to stay quiet and not embarrass the family. Little did she know, I was the one funding the company my brother just got promoted in. Hey, before we go on, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you've ever been underestimated, because what happens next will leave you speechless. Everyone was dressed like they were attending a royal event. My brother, Ethan, had just been promoted to regional director, and my parents decided to throw him a massive celebration. The moment I walked in, the room went quiet. I heard a whisper, "Oh, Robin actually showed up." I forced a smile, holding the small box of chocolates I could afford. Mom's eyes narrowed immediately. "That's your gift? For your brother's big night?" she said, her tone dripping with disappointment. Dad added with a smirk, "Well, what can we expect from someone who dropped out of college? Be thankful Ethan didn't turn out like you." The crowd chuckled, and I felt my chest tighten. Everyone looked at me like I didn't belong there. I wanted to speak, but before I could, Ethan raised his glass and said, "Let's toast to real success. Some of us worked hard while others took the easy way out." The room erupted in laughter again. I swallowed hard, pretending it didn't sting. But what no one knew was that behind my quiet smile, I owned the tech company Ethan's firm had just partnered with. They were celebrating him for securing a deal that I had personally approved under a different name. As the night went on, my family kept mocking me. "Still doing those side hustles, Robin? Maybe you should try getting a real job. You know, not everyone can be successful." I laughed it off, but inside, I was burning. Then Ethan's boss approached me unknowingly, shaking my hand. "You're Robin, right? The one from Architect? Your company's work blew us away. We're lucky Ethan landed your partnership." The entire table went silent. My mother froze mid-bite. Ethan's face drained of color. I leaned back and smiled softly. "Oh, he didn't tell you?" "Yeah, I'm the founder." But that was just the beginning, because the real secret I'd kept hidden for years was about to shatter their perfect family image forever. The room fell completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. My brother's smile vanished, replaced by the kind of fear you only see when someone realizes the game is over. Dad coughed awkwardly, trying to recover. "Founder? Robin, don't exaggerate. You probably just helped a little with their website or something." I looked at him calmly. "No, Dad, I founded Architect. The company your son's firm just signed a multi-million-dollar contract with." Mom blinked fast, her voice shaky. "That's impossible. You never even finished college." I gave a small smile. "Exactly. Because I was too busy building something that didn't need a degree to prove its worth." Ethan tried to laugh it off. "Come on, Robin, don't act like this is your night. Let's not ruin the party with your fantasies." His boss turned toward him, confused. "Fantasies?" "Ethan, Architect's CEO, personally signed the deal under the name Robin Hayes. Are you saying that's not your brother?" Ethan's jaw tightened. Mom's hand slowly lowered her champagne glass. Everyone stared at me now, like I had just rewritten every story they'd ever told about me. I decided to go easy, for now. "Relax, Ethan. I'm not here to ruin anything. You've worked hard. Enjoy your night." But inside, I was already thinking of what came next. Because while they were busy mocking me, I'd just discovered something shocking. Something that could destroy Ethan's promotion entirely. When the speeches began, I stood quietly in the corner. My mom leaned toward a guest and whispered, "He's probably lying for attention." I caught that, and I smiled again, because right then I received a text from my assistant. "Robin, urgent. We found out Ethan used internal Architect data before the deal was signed." "Want me to send proof?" My heart skipped. "He what?" I glanced at Ethan, laughing on stage, pretending to be the perfect son. He was bragging about negotiating hard for the company when I realized he'd stolen confidential files from Architect to look like a hero. I clenched my phone, pulse racing. My family had mocked me all night, but now I had the power to end Ethan's entire career, in front of everyone, and trust me, I was about to use it. I stared at Ethan standing proudly on that stage, holding his glass high as everyone cheered. My fingers tightened around my phone. Every insult from tonight replayed in my head. Mom calling me a disappointment, Dad laughing about how I never achieved anything, Ethan mocking me like I was invisible. But now, I had proof that their golden boy was a fraud. I stepped toward the stage, each step slow and deliberate. "Ethan," I said, my voice calm but loud enough for everyone to hear. "You said you negotiated this deal, right?" He grinned nervously. "Of course, why?" I turned my phone screen toward the audience. "Then maybe you can explain why Architect's internal server was accessed from your company account, 3 weeks before negotiations even started." The crowd went dead silent. His boss frowned, walking closer. "What is he talking about?" Ethan stuttered. I don't know what he's saying. He's lying." I swiped through a few screenshots. "Here's the timestamp. Here's your login ID, and here—" I looked right into his eyes. "Is the email where you sent my company's prototype file to yourself." Gasps echoed across the room. His boss snatched my phone, scanning the messages. "This is serious. If this is true, you've breached your contract." Mom stood up, trembling. "Robin, please stop this nonsense." I turned to her, keeping my tone firm. "You told me not to embarrass the family tonight, but maybe the family embarrassed itself." Ethan's face went pale. His boss whispered something to another man, who quietly stepped out with his phone. Within minutes, the entire party shifted from celebration to chaos. Guests were whispering, cameras flashing, faces full of shock. My father finally shouted, "Robin, you've gone too far." I met his eyes. "No, Dad, you went too far when you laughed at me for following my dream. When you called me worthless. Tonight, you all wanted to humiliate me, but you forgot something important." I paused, letting the silence stretch. I never stopped working. I never stopped believing. And unlike Ethan, I never cheated. Ethan's boss returned, his face hard. "Ethan, we confirmed it. You leaked confidential data. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation." The microphone in Ethan's hand dropped to the floor with a thud. Mom gasped. Dad sat down, stunned. And me? I just smiled, because this was only the beginning. What they didn't know was that my next move would shake their world even harder. Everyone's faces twisted in shock. Ethan tried to speak, but the words just wouldn't come out. His boss turned to me and said, "Mr. Hayes, would you mind sharing how long you've been running Architect?" I looked around the room, at every relative, every friend who'd once laughed at me, and said clearly, 6 years. While you all were mocking me for not having a real job, I was building a company from my bedroom that now employs over 200 people. Gasps filled the air. My aunt whispered, "From his bedroom?" While Mom's lips trembled as if she'd seen a ghost, Dad muttered, "You're lying. You can't build a company like that without our help." I took a deep breath and said softly, "You're right, Dad. I didn't build it with your help. I built it because of your mockery." The crowd murmured again, their eyes shifting between me and my family. Ethan's boss sighed, removing his badge. "Ethan, I need you to come to the office tomorrow morning. This could turn into a lawsuit." Ethan glared at me. "You think you're better than me now?" "You just got lucky." I tilted my head slightly. "Maybe, but it's funny how luck favors those who work in silence." Mom suddenly stood up, tears in her eyes. "Robin, please stop this. You're humiliating your brother." I turned to her slowly. "You humiliated me for years, Mom. You made me feel like I was nothing. Tonight, I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just showing you who I became while you refused to see me." The room was so silent you could hear glasses clink from the kitchen. Even the music had stopped. Then, unexpectedly, Ethan's fiancée, Lily, spoke. "Robin's telling the truth." Ethan spun toward her, shocked. "What are you talking about?" Lily's hands shook. "I saw those files, Ethan. You told me it was fine. You said no one would ever find out." "I told you not to do it." The crowd gasped again. Mom covered her mouth. Dad sank back into his chair. Ethan's voice cracked. "Lily, not here, please." But Lily stepped forward. "You don't deserve that promotion, Ethan. And Robin deserves every bit of respect this family denied him." "I didn't expect that." For a second, I saw genuine regret in her eyes. And as Ethan stood frozen, everyone realized the family's perfect son was the fraud, and the failure was the one holding the power. I walked to the exit slowly, the same people who mocked me now moving aside in silence. But before I left, I turned and said, "Don't worry, I'll make sure the company still works with your firm. I don't destroy people who try to destroy me. I just let karma finish the job." And just when I thought it was over, Ethan shouted something that stopped me cold. "Wait, Robin, there's something you don't know about Mom and Dad." The room froze again. My hand tightened on the door handle. "What do you mean?" I asked. Ethan's eyes were full of guilt. They weren't just mocking you, Robin. They used your name. For something. Something illegal." My heart dropped. "Used my name? What are you talking about, Ethan?" He swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "Dad needed a business loan 2 years ago. His credit was bad, so they used your identity, your tax ID. Everything was filed under your name. The company went bankrupt, and I stepped closer, my pulse pounding in my ears. And what, Ethan?" He looked down. "The debt's still active, Robin. You've been listed as the guarantor. If anyone checks the record, they'll think you defaulted on a $500,000 loan." I felt my whole world tilt. Mom covered her face, whispering, "We were going to fix it." "Before you found out!" The crowd was whispering again, phones out, recording everything. My father stood up, face red with panic. "Enough! This family doesn't air dirty laundry in public." I turned to him slowly. "You aired it the day you used my name without permission. You didn't just mock me, you tried to ruin me." He shouted back, "You owe us! We raised you. Fed you." I laughed bitterly. "And in return you stole from me. Used me. Mocked me every step of the way. You never raised me to succeed. You raised me to serve your pride." For a moment, the entire hall was silent. Then Ethan's boss spoke up quietly. "Robin, I'll make sure this gets legally documented." "They can't do this to you." I nodded, breathing deeply. "Thank you. But I don't want revenge anymore. I just want peace." I turned to my family, who were now standing in shock. "You called me uneducated, worthless, a disappointment. Yet everything you see tonight, the lights, the contracts, the celebration, exists because I built something you never believed in." Mom's tears fell silently. Dad looked away. Ethan stood frozen, shame painted across his face. I continued, "I could sue you. I could destroy everything you built. But I won't, because unlike you, I don't need to humiliate others to feel powerful." The crowd erupted in quiet applause. Some people even stood. I took one last look at my family and said softly, "You taught me what not to become. For that, I thank you." Then I walked out into the night air, free at last, from their judgment, their control, their noise. My phone buzzed again. A message from my assistant. "Architect's new valuation just crossed $50 million. Congratulations, boss." I smiled to myself, the streetlights glowing above. "They called me uneducated and worthless," I whispered. But turns out, I was the one holding the keys to their future all along. And that night, for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt unstoppable.